of the same situation with rhododendrons and Sherwood's Wood. In fact, as you know, Anne, there was a compromise in Sherwood's Woods when the council put up a consultation. The person who was responsible for hearing that consultation and receiving the consultation documents and people's comments went on holiday for a whole month, did not answer any calls because she was on holiday. All emails came back because she was on holiday. It was then covered in the Welwyn and Hatfiel Times. I think Alan Franey actually came out and spoke about it at the time, if I recall correctly, and extended the consultation for another month. In that instance, people's thoughts were put forward, people had an opportunity to air a perspective and a point of view, and there was a compromise that they cut the rhododendrons around Sherwood's Woods and left some as borders along six ways. There's no compromise here. I asked you, Anne, earlier on, I referred to a memo, you kind of fudged it really, but then you read it and then blah-de-blah, I'm not quite sure what you said really. I still feel you said something about 100 trees, 150. But in one of the other documents, the council has considered the recommendations carefully. It took them 2 years, that race. And in partnership with Finesse Leisure, who manages the site on the council's behalf, have come to the decision that the short-term solution, there is one, of reducing all the trees back to 5 or 6 metres can be done. And from that day onwards, we're cutting every 2 to 3 years. People said they'd like that, we actually want that. It's a time-consuming and unsightly commitment.
Can I ask who made the decision not to consult on the second option to prune, to cut the trees back? Was it Claire Berry? Was it council officers who decided?
As I'm being informed, it was the council's decision. Yes.
Not to have a consultation on the second option.
But she opted to do the replacement, long term.
That was an executive decision.
Why did the council think that the public shouldn't be consulted on the second option?
I can't answer that for you. I'm an arborist, I can't answer that for you. Obviously we can ask the Councillor Berry to make a comment about that, but I can't answer it for you.
Did you ask us to come to a meeting and tell the public?
Can we start today?
Yeah, can we have a meeting about this, please?
Could I just suggest, if I can build on that, I was a councillor for this ward, or at least for Hampside, this is your thing, until last year, and I never ever heard anything about this project at all. We can argue here all the evening. This is a prime example of how not to do it. Absolutely. In communication terms. Trees aside, I would never be party to this sort of bear pit that was set up, because anybody in their senses knows that if you call a public meeting on a contentious issue, it descends into chaos. There hasn't been a chairman here, for example, to try and keep some sort of order.
The main problem is that we'd already made the decision before we said no.
I think that's true too. I think that's a bit much. There may have been an executive decision taken by the executive member, and the officers are in a difficult position. What I'm suggesting is this, that the Welwyn Garden Society, that we have a small working group, the Welwyn Garden Society, which is obviously concerned very much as with you as you are, the Welwyn Garden Society should lead that. There should be the 3 ward councillors from the borough and the county councillor, and plus 2 or 3 people who can actually contribute to that work. And they should have the remit of clarifying how the decision was made, by whom, when, how much it's going to cost, and the way forward. Now that's going to be a recommendation. If the decision's already been made, then as an ex-councillor, I would want to know who made it and what authority did they have to do that. Does everybody agree that there should be a working group?
There's one thing missing from that. Sorry, can I just say? I think there's one thing missing from that.
Yeah.
We want a genuine consultation, not a whitewash.
Well, great.
We don't want to
That can
report
set
here
it
to
up.
tell that there's decisions been made.
Yes.
We don't want to hear that the public's purse has been spent on projects to sample and look at these trees when you've still yet to tell us this figure of how many trees have got fungus or immediate danger. It isn't in the report. It isn't there. So
The working
missing
group
an awful
should
lot of
actually help
information
to
and
set
facts.
up that
And
consultation.
even the consultant that's bidding for the work that undertook the survey, frankly, has not been able to provide hardly any information. I would love to see that proposal. I would love to see a proposal, Polly, because you couldn't answer any questions tonight about what you did 2 years ago about specific trees. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you win the contract, you think tonight's a bear pit. My goodness.
As chairman of Welwyn City Society, I would back what Dennis has just said. I think it would be a very good idea to, because we're independent, we're not in the council's pocket at all, and we do have a pretty good relationship with the officers, and you know, and as Dennis said, they're in a very difficult position at the moment. You know,
No, that's absolutely
you know,
fine.
It's a
I'm not.
difficult situation for themselves.
I'm not
No, they
disagreeing.
haven't.
I'm not disagreeing.
The councillors, sorry, didn't the councillors?
yeah,
I'm not
they put the
disagreeing.
officers in a bad position.
I'm not disagreeing with the intentions of what we want to do. What I want is the commitment from those who have stood up here tonight to preach to us a decision to commit to a genuine consultation. Otherwise,
Here.
will you do
Well,
that?
that's what
Don't chop the
Dennis was
pops.
just saying.
Don't chop the pops. Don't chop the pops. Don't chop the pops.
Will you do that?
Not a popular
That's open to all of you. Will you commit to a genuine consultation?
Has anyone here got the authority to delay taking action until this group has got together for a proper consultation?
You've got to reconsider this whole situation, you know.
It's very
You really seriously have.
Do you think we could have an opinion from, you know, from our ward councillors? That might be a good idea. We've got two of them here to meet.
Yes, I'm happy to. Like the rest of you, a lot of this is new to me, to be honest. I haven't been consulted about this at all. Exactly. I have been discussing with other people the possibility of calling this decision in for Environment Committee to examine it in detail to find out how it was arrived at, who was responsible for what, and as far as I can gather, the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats are happy to back that and will be doing so shortly, providing the system allows us to do it. I don't know the full details of the committee process and so on, that I can absolutely guarantee that we can do it, but if we can, we will. That will then bring out the sort of things that Dennis was talking about earlier, as to who was responsible for the decision and who was responsible for keeping it quiet. Now that is the best that we can do. I think what you must understand is that the people here cannot tell you, perhaps Ines might be able to, but certainly none of the council officers here can tell you that they are able to stop this. It is a decision taken by the executive members of the council, and unless they change it, it will go ahead.
What about scrutiny committee? There is a committee to
I've
look
just-
at decisions that have already been made.
Jill, I've just said
Memos that have been
we will
denied,
call
they're
it
actually
in for
concluded
scrutiny.
out of hand.
Yes, but
Okay.
that is an option then.
Yes, as far as I'm aware, it is possible for us to call it in, but I'm not absolutely positively certain until I've spoken to the committee people as to what I believe
Due
is
diligence. Very
There isn't much time. In a month's time, those trees will start coming down.
It's only coming up.
Tony, can this gentleman speak, please?
I'm not in charge here. I'm just a hanger-on, so to speak.
Also another councillor for Hanside Ward. I have to agree with what Tony's said so far. I know there's a huge amount of bad feeling about this, and I think a lot of people have done a lot of work, and they've done it in the best way that they felt it was to go forward. I think the problem is the communication, and that's been why so much bad feeling is here this evening.
And like the
But I think actually what we should be doing is thanking Finesse for having this meeting. They didn't have to. They have done. They have brought it into the public arena. Otherwise it wouldn't be there perhaps at all. And let's see if we can take forward, see if we can do something else, see if there can be more public discussion about this and more information. Thank
Do
you.
you agree with the idea of a group?
Can we ask
Excuse
Helen
me,
if she supports
can
a public
this gentleman
consultation
talk?
and if she supports
what Tony suggested about calling this in for the consideration by Environment Committee?
I'm always for people. Sorry, thank you. I'm always for people being informed as early as is possible and is right. Sometimes things do need to be thought out a bit more before they're put in the public domain.